What it do, Chiefs Kingdom? Welcome back to the McGruder Files, the show where we don't sugarcoat it. We just dissect it. Episode 7. We're going straight red zone emergency today because the Kansas City Chiefs around Thanksgiving just took an L that felt like a gut punch on national TV, 31-28 on Thanksgiving night, falling to 6-6, and suddenly every game left is a must win if the season isn't gonna flatline before Christmas. I'm not riding solo tonight, so I brought in my brother from another, my Kingdom Cast teammate, the co-host of Tell the Truth podcast alongside DG and CJ. He's the man behind also the DMW Sports Empire. Give it up for my brother from another, D-Mac. What's going on, bro? How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. P-Mac, thank you for bringing me on. I'm excited to talk about the Chiefs, and I understand that this has obviously been a negative time in Chiefs world. Obviously, being 500 this deep into the season, as December football start is not where we ever want to be. It's not a realistic thing that we've dealt with as far as the Mahomes era is concerned either. But honestly, you gotta continue to stick with the team even in these tough times and tell how you see it as far as that is concerned. And look, this has been a struggle, but it's important to keep understanding why these things are happening and what needs to change for things to get better too. So thank you for having me on, man, and happy to talk about some Chiefs.
Yes, sir. Thank you, man. And look, I mean, I need somebody who's going to keep it all the way a buck with me, man, especially about this because right now, Chiefs Kingdom is in full panic mode right now, man, and for a good reason. I mean, we just watched a defense that couldn't get off the field, an injury list longer than a CVS receipt. I mean, and 12 men on the field, like we're playing Madden with the controller glitching, and then meanwhile, 3 teams currently hold the wild card spots. I mean, the Chargers, the Bills, and the Jaguars are all 7-4. Also, the Colts as well. I mean, actually, no, the Jaguars are 8-4. The Colts are 7-4. But and all we need is all 3 own the head-to-head tiebreaker over us, and that's right. Even if we finish with the same record, we're going to be on the couch watching them play, man. And tell me I'm tripping, but tell me there's still a realistic path back to the postseason, or if there might not be a chance, because right now it feels like we need to go 5-0 the rest of the way and still get help from the rest of the guys at the top.
Well, look, as far as the playoff pathway is concerned, I'm actually probably going to be the most optimistic that I'll be kind of throughout this podcast as far as that's concerned. The playoff pathway is pretty simple. If you win out, I think that you are, in a good position to make it. I think that 11-6, there won't be another team, or there won't be teams enough that are at that mark to keep you out of the playoffs at that point. I think you'll be in. 10-7 gets tough. I think 10-7, if you lose this game to the Texans, or if you lose the game, in theory to the Broncos down the line, then you're going to stare at some tiebreaker perspective or scenarios, I should say. And so the 10-7 pathway means that the Chargers, who have a very difficult schedule down the stretch, they got to, obviously, the Eagles on Monday night. They got to come to Arrowhead, face us. They got to go to the Cowboys. They still got to go to the Broncos in Week 18 as well. They could easily go 4 out of 5 and lose 4 out of 5 games down the stretch. And that would put them at 10-7, assuming that you win next week. Then you would have the tiebreaker over them. And then the Colts would be the other team that they have some difficult games, obviously, against the Jaguars. They have another game versus the Texans. If they end up falling down to 7 wins as well, then you have the opportunity to have the tiebreaker over them. Those 2 teams then falling out would give you the opportunity to be in the wild card spot as well, along with the Bills. And in that scenario, either the Jaguars or Texans, whichever one doesn't win the AFC South. So the reality of the situation is this is a massive game for their playoff implications because it gives them more of a wiggle room with the Broncos game, in my opinion, which they may need. And, if you end up winning this game, then it gives you the opportunity to still win out and really put yourself in position to secure that spot no matter what. If you lose this game, then you're looking about needing some help from other teams kind of falling off as far as that is concerned to make it happen.
Yeah, man, and you're absolutely right about that. If before we talk about how we can get there, man, let's go over this segment one to recap one of those reasons why we're in this difficult position. So let's not waste a single second, man. You know, as we guys know, the Chiefs lost 31-28 in Dallas on Thanksgiving. Looked like a classic shootout on the scoreboard. Felt like a slow death while you were watching it. And, you know, let's break down this autopsy. So we scored on our first two drives, picked by Jalen Watson, who's been actually having a low-key great year, especially in the contract year. Shout out to the late great Therese Paylor, as he always says. The contract year stays undefeated. Quick strike to Rashee Rice, first touchdown on the play. Then a 12-play grind capped off by Kelsey on fourth down, 14-0 Chiefs. Felt like vintage. Then the penalties started to rain in. The defensive front forgot what a third down stop was. And Dallas said, thank you 9 different times. 9 of 16 on third down. 9. That 39-yard bomb to George Pickens on 3rd and 8 late. Well, he didn't do that yesterday against the Lions, but, you know, against us he did. That was the dagger. Clock hit 0. We never got the ball back. But here's the thing. Mahomes threw 4 touchdowns, dragged us back to within 3 with 3:07 left. And the defense couldn't get one stop. Instead, Dak hits Pickens. Cowboys kneel it. Ball game. Eddie Reed said it plain, too many penalties, can't get off the field on third down, 10 flags, 119 yards. That's not bad luck, that's bad football, but I also put that on Andy Reid because, you know, you decided to put the ball in the hands. As Nate Taylor said, you decided to put the ball in the hands of one of your 2 worst units instead of using the offense after Mahomes has had the best season of the year, the best game of this year. You decided to take the ball out of his hands, but put it in Spags' court to take care of the job. Like, hey, Spags, go out there, win us the game. I was like, there is no way. And now there's the injury report, which is brutal. Rookie left tackle Josh Simmons dislocated and had a fractured wrist. He's headed to IR. Jawan Taylor is still dealing with those tricep issues, and he's out this Sunday. There's also Christian Roland Wallace who'll be out as well. Big Red on this past Monday, mentioned Wanye Morris being the next man up at left tackle. And Wanye gave up pressure literally on 2 of his 18 snaps on that Thanksgiving game. If he plays 60 snaps Sunday, Matt said 6 to 7 pressures he might allow, especially there's for good reason. Daniil Hunter and Will Anderson are coming to town, and that's going to be Mahomes running for his life again. So, like we mentioned, we're 6-6. There's the Chargers, there's the Bills, there's the Jaguars, the Colts, and they all own the head on us. And Pat said it himself after the game. We got to win out and hope it's enough. Translation, even 11-6 might not get us in. Every game from here is a playoff game. And we don't even control our own fate anymore. And we got Houston, in 2-3 days from now at Arrowhead. Winter start printing golf tee times, start, playing ahead for having golf season, get the stress off your mind, and come back to do it next season. So, what is one of your takeaways from that game that just caught your attention? Like, wow, man, I can't believe this is happening.
Yeah, I was about to say, I don't know what. I should be able to kick them from that. That's interesting. Yeah. Anyway, sorry. I would say the biggest thing is you have to start with the injuries. I mean, that's the major issue, because the fact that you're coming into this game and you have the limitations that you do on the offensive line. I mean, it's tough to be able to go out there and understand that this Texans defense understands how to get after the quarterback as well as it does. And you're going to come into this game and you're going to hear a lot of storylines that it's going to be similar to the Eagles, Super Bowl, obviously last year.
Or the Bucs Super Bowl.
Yep, I was going to say that as well, because this offensive line is compromised. Not having Josh Simmons, who's played excellent as a rookie, to be there at left tackle. Obviously, Jawan Taylor being out, it seems like at right tackle, him and Trey Smith are both doubtful. And obviously, Trey Smith's interior presence kicks Caliendo into the starting lineup as well, versus what is an excellent and a ferocious pass rush for the Texans defense. And they don't do anything special. They don't need to send extra guys. They're like, we're going to line up 4. We're going to play our coverage where there's a little bit of cover 3. We're going to play some man. We're going to show you what you're going to do, and you're just not going to be able to beat it. And they have the talent to be able to do so because of how amazing Will Anderson Jr. is. Who, in my opinion, is playing at a defensive player of the year level. It's just Myles Garrett is an alien, but he is still playing at that level as far as that's concerned. Myles Garrett is still going to win the award ultimately. But Janelle Hunter, who I thought was somebody that the Chiefs should have ended up bringing in free agency 2 years ago.
Yeah.
He's playing very well. And ultimately, they've got good interior guys as well. And it's a tough task to understand that these 3 backup offensive linemen, whether it's one name more so left tackle or right tackle, personally, I think it would be right tackle. Andy Reid seemed to give a little bit of leeway that there may be some wiggle room to move those guys accordingly. But it's tough. It's a tough scenario to go out there. You're going to need Mahomes to be, excellent and over my dead body type of Mahomes, obviously with his legs and his arm. You're going to need Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy to play a high level game, in my opinion, versus Derek Stingley and Kamari Lassiter, who it appears is probably ultimately going to play. He got a limited participant practice in, and ultimately is questionable for the game. You can get after their safeties. In my opinion, Caleb Bullock is really good. They can get after their strong safety position specifically, especially since the rookie out of Penn State is not going to play in this game either. And then the linebacker position with Travis Kelce. That's going to be the other place that you got to try and attack. And Aziz is really good, really physical, but he can still be had in coverage, and so can their second linebacker. So it's not easy. I would like to see better balance. They're going to be without Tim Settle Jr. in the interior defensive line. So if you can get some type of run game going, that would be a lot helpful in that aspect too.
I'm there with you. I think we got to get the run game going, man. And just to piggyback on like what you just said there, man. Just like we got to talk about it too, about what Andy Reid said, because I know everybody's dying to hear from us about what we think about what Andy said. So, all right, so. This man, okay. We just gave our flowers to Mahomes out there for just playing a great game, but Andy Reid and Steve Spagnuolo, and yes, Matt Nagy, you guys, come on, man. We love y'all, but y'all helped dig this 6-6 grave, and it's time to own it. First, Big Red. 4 straight drives in the second and third quarters. We crossed every middle field every single time. 4 punts from between the Dallas 35 and our own 49. That's prime. Let your playmakers cook territory. Instead, we handed the ball to Xavier Worthy on a stop motion jet sweep that went for a 3-yard loss. Took sacks, took penalties, then trotted the punt team out there like we're scared to lose. 10 penalties for 119 yards. 4th time this year that we've had double-digit flags, and it's the 4th time we've lost because of that. That level of sloppiness in year 12 for Andy Reid, that is just uncalled for, man. Adjustments, creativity, putting the right guys in the right places. Just as simple what we're asking for. And you guys have preached that on Tell the Truth, and I've been preaching that as well, and everybody, man. Just as simple. But I kind of feel like sometimes when you're, been in that position, you feel like, I can get a little too cute and all that. No, you can't do that, man. Especially when you say something like tickle your tonsils. I was like, what the fuck does that even mean, man?
I was shocked to see that. That was certainly not what I expected from Andy Reid to mention that in the press conference. Yeah, that was a new one. I ain't never heard that one before.
I'm sitting here like, I'm sitting here like, all right, man. I I know he's probably referencing Matt Nagy. We're gonna tickle your tonsils. Well, let's see it. Damn it! I don't want to hear no little phrases or nothing like that. Like sound like Hakuna Matata or some shit like that. How about just execute? Damn it! I don't want to hear no little tickle your tonsils. I'll tickle your tonsils. Like no, man, no.
Mm-hmm.
Just execute because don't try to say something creative just as to throw us off. Just not accepting that you're messing up. You have Matt Nagy. How is it that Matt Nagy had success when he had Alex Smith, even when he had an actual balanced running game, even when he had Spencer Ware and he had Charkandrick West running? Mm-hmm. You had Kareem Hunt, who was 1,000-yard rusher that one year. In that year where Alex had his best season as a pro, that's because, Mahomes was waiting in the wings. You had Tyreek. You had Kelsey, each 1,000-yard receivers. This stuff works for, and Kelsey at 36 is looking like the Kelsey of old. But you're not executing the same way that you did with Alex Smith. And part of me is starting to wonder, is it really Matt Nagy that's the problem? Or was it Brad Childress the entire time during that period when he had that success? Because if you were able to do that with Alex and them, let's say forget all that about that stuff about Chicago, but just you had that success before. And guess what? The Bears are doing the same thing, but better than what we're doing. You seen what Ben Johnson's doing with Caleb Williams and why they're 9-3 right now, man. And part of it is because you also have DeAndre Swift. I don't know how to pronounce that kid's name. His name is Kyle, but the rookie.
Kyle Monungai.
Yep. Monungai. Yeah, okay. Yeah, like Monungai and Swift, they're dominating within that scheme. But we already know who's also another reason why. Eric Bieniemy is their running back coach, and he's applying some of the stuff that he ran, including the aggressiveness that he did with the Chiefs. He's doing it with the Bears. And then you also got Joe Tooney there and Darnell Wright, who are like the big reason why that run game is being successful. And then you got the Rams, who incorporates some of those runs, especially with Kyron Williams. And they did it before with Cam Akers into their journey to winning the Super Bowl years ago. Mm-hmm. Like the Kyle Shanahan or, the Shanahan-led offense where he came from, where Sean McVay came from at Washington. They're applying those things because it's helping them win. They're just tricking teams. That's why we've been emphasizing utilize the 12, 13 personnel. It ain't just use all your tight ends, but you can use them if they're open. But yes, throw out there to confuse the defense, keep them guessing. And we're not doing it. Just like that Denver game, they said when they simply saw Kareem line up as a wide receiver and Rashee Rice in the backfield, they even said it. Oh, we saw it coming, man. And we cannot do that, especially as you mentioned, against a guy like Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson. Because, dude, it's going to feel like Friday Night Lights going against the Dallas Carter team. They're going to be coming and hitting.
You can say that again. I mean, the brand of football that the Texans play is one that is violent, but it is disciplined. And I got to say that. I mean, they don't, try and you people are going to have their thing about Azeez Al-Shaair for understandable reasons. I found it hilarious that he got nominated for the Walter Payton Man of the Year award.
Man,
some things that we've talked about as far as he is concerned. But they play physical, they play violent, they're disciplined, they understand what they're doing, and it makes it very difficult to try and move the ball on them on a consistent basis. All of those things are just facts of life against the Houston Texans, and it's just the reality of the situation. So the other thing is I understand why people are talking about this because yes, it's going to be cold. Yes, CJ Stroud has not won an NFL game where it's up 30 degrees and it's looking like it's certainly going to be that by kickoff. It just, to me, that doesn't seem like as much of an advantage for the Chiefs as it would have been in years past, because when you talk about cold weather football, it's about what you're doing in the trenches and the physicality that you play with. And right now, the Chiefs are giving up the trench battle to the Texans, in my opinion, on both sides of the ball. And so I don't think that's the advantage that it would be as well, even though the Texans are, in theory, a dome team. They've got some cold weather guys over there, and they play a brand of football that's more, lenient to that from that standpoint, too. So it's a tough matchup. It's one that is going to require, in my opinion, ultimately this. In the Buccaneers Super Bowl, they did not properly adjust that game plan because they thought that they were going to be okay based on the regular season matchup with the Bucs and the fact that they had played so well up until that point. And so they thought it was going to go similar to that. So they didn't adjust to the injuries that they had on the offensive line for that Buccaneers Super Bowl. And they got dominated up front. The Eagles Super Bowl, they had gone through the playoffs with Joe Tooney at left tackle, and they moved the ball against the Texans. They obviously did very well against the Bills. They felt like, hey, we're going to go in the Super Bowl versus the Eagles, and we don't necessarily need to make huge game plan changes. And they paid the price for that in the beginning parts of that game. That game was out of reach before they ever got their traction either. This is a game that you've seen coming now for 10 days since Thanksgiving. You knew the offensive line injuries were real. You have to deal with that. You know the Texans defense is real, and you understand how ferocious their pass rush is. You have to have, and I'm talking to the coaching staff on offense, you have to have a game plan that represents that you're going to be undermanned in the offensive line, a game plan that gives you an opportunity to still attack the Texans from a balanced perspective, and a game plan that gives you a chance to put at least 20 plus points on the board because you know the Chiefs defense is going to give up at least that much. If you could do that, then you have a shot. If you don't, then you're going to lose, and it's going to put you in a very precarious situation for the playoffs moving forward.
Absolutely, man, because that's the other thing I didn't even mention as well, man, the significance of this offensive line, especially when you're going to put Wanya Morris at left tackle. Jalen Moore, you're paying him $15 million a year, and he was originally supposed to be your left tackle, but he's going to be playing right tackle this Sunday. And then Caliendo is at right guard. So, yes. And I remember Richard Sherman saying years ago after that Super Bowl, he's like, I understand what Mahomes went through, but, being there before and like, what's the difference between him and Brady? He said that's the thing that Mahomes got to do as he's getting older as a pro. He's going to have to adjust to trusting his team, especially no matter who's out there, and get the ball out quickly. And I hope Andy and them preach that confidence, especially they did that with Alex Smith too. Throw some trickery, man. Run some jet sweeps, especially with Worthy. You got Worthy, man. And what happened to running those jet sweeps like you did with Worthy last year? It's not working like what we saw last year. And the fact that you got Rashee Rice and him, you got to use those guys. That's basically your future wide receiver 1 and 2, and you got to get going and get them in a position to be successful. So that's just that. So before we move on to segment 2, but there's 5 important facts that could definitely show us why this season we're still breathing, we're still got a lifeline and everything. And while I'm not burying us just yet, so Kelsey just became the most prolific touchdown scorer in franchise history, and also shout out to Kelsey for his nomination for the Walter Payton Man of the Year. 84 regular season touchdowns, surpassing Priest Holmes. 101 counting the playoffs. At 36 years old, this man is still a red zone monster. We went 3 for 3 in the red zone against the Cowboys. And after going 2 out of 10 in the previous 10 games, when we get down there, 87 is still, cash money. And that's not decline. That's just dominance. Fact number 2, we actually started hot. We just forgot how to finish drives or execute those drives. We picked Dak off on the 3rd play of the game, scored in 2 plays, answered their touchdown with a 12-play drive and a 4th down dime to Kelsey. First 2 drives, the touchdowns. Then we drove inside the Dallas 45 4 straight times in the 2nd and 3rd quarters and came away with 0 points. That's not talent. That's discipline. Fix the penalties, and those become 14 more points. 3rd down defense was historically bad, but it's correctable. Dallas converted 9 of 15 3rd downs. 5 of them were third and 7 or longer. That's not a scheme. That's eyes and effort. Trent McDuffie, guys, he got flagged 3 times, and it was one of his worst games. And yes, Watson gave up 104 yards, but he didn't give up a touchdown. He got a pick. And be honest, he hasn't allowed a touchdown since the last Super Bowl when we played against the Eagles, including the postseason. So that speaks how well he's worked this year. But the person we got to talk about, and we will talk about part of the next segment too, like why Spag should be very ashamed of himself because he did this in 2021 when he had Dirty Dan with Juan Thornhill and the Honey Badger. And I remember hearing all about this on the inside when I was working at the Chiefs. Shamari Connor gave up 108 yards, man, especially that 51-yard bomb to CeeDee Lamb late in the game. It was just horrible to watch. We know these dudes can play better. They've done it all year. One get right game, and that stat flips. Patrick Mahomes is still him. He had 23 of 34, 261 yards passing, 4 TDs, 2 of them on 4th and goal, and still dropped dimes while running for his life, through a 42-yard prayer to Worthy on the move to set up the last score. He's doing this with practice squad tackles and half a receiving core. Get 15 a clean pocket and a running game for once and watch what happens. Like, for real. That's all we're saying, man. And we still have the best closer in football when the playoffs start. Yes, 6-6. Yes, the Chargers, Cowboys, Colts, and Jaguars on those tiebreakers. We just have to win out. But name one team in the AFC that wants to see Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, and a pissed off Kelsey in January with their backs against the wall. Nobody. So, that's just what I think as well going forward. But anyway, anything you got to say before we move on to the next segment?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm glad you gave some of those stats. I do have a few of them as far as that's concerned. Shout out to Travis Kelce. Obviously, being able to be the all-time leader in Chiefs touchdowns, he deserves his flowers. And I was critical on him, early in the season for some of the mistakes. I thought that he didn't necessarily have his best game versus the Chargers in Brazil. I thought that obviously the Eagles drop that ended up being an interception was a massive thing. Thought he took 7 points off the board also in that Eagles game and that Chargers game also. But he has looked significantly better than he did last year. You could tell that he did have a real commitment to his body, to be better, in better shape, moving better than he did last year. And that means that he deserves the tip of the cap to get himself in that mindset and be ready from that standpoint. So I wanted to give him that shout out. It's just, as far as the stat aspect is concerned, we're giving up 12 yards per play when we blitz. As far as just in general, that on Thanksgiving, we were 7 for 7. Dak Prescott went for 101 yards and a touchdown. As far as 3rd and long was concerned, we only got off the field on 2 of those, but ultimately those still went for field goals, and they were able to convert the other 5 3rd and longs. It was bad. And the Spags defense is giving up 0.2 EPA per play. Or 0.15, I should say, the EPA per play to the blitz right now. That is, how basically Jordan Love is performing in the NFL. And it's disappointing, the fact that the blitz aspect of this defense is so poor, and then obviously getting after with 4. And that is unfortunately the combination of scheme and talent that are just really letting us down on that side of the ball. So that's the most disappointing thing. And then on the other side, you got to stay aggressive. That you can't have 4th and 5 punts in their zone and their side of the field. You just can't have that. You have to be aggressive and allow this offense to try and win you the game and live with the results afterwards. You have to allow Patrick Mahomes to have the chance to have the game in his hands and not be there at the end of the game and hoping that the defense can get you off the field, because they're not going to, and they haven't done it all year. That's my personal opinion.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, man. I mean, we just gotta do what we gotta do. I'm not saying it's probable, but I'm saying it's still a possibility. And until 15 hangs up the jersey, I'm not tapping out on this team. And now let's go beat the brakes off of Houston Sunday night and remind the league who we are. So as we move on, segment 2, everybody, we're gonna focus on our players of the game. So in this segment, I always pick, the offensive player of the game and defensive player of the game who I saw did their due diligence. My offensive player of the game is obvious. Patrick Mahomes. 23 of 34, 261 yards passing, 4 touchdowns, the best that he's played all year. 2 of those scores came on 4th and goal, when one while getting hit, one while falling away. Then down 10 with the season bleeding out, he drops the 42-yard bomb on the move to Xavier Worthy to set up the last touchdown to Hollywood Brown. He did all of that while his left tackle was on one leg, his right tackle was in the street clothes, and the play calling went ultra conservative. And the moment we got a lead, and then Pat dragged a 6-6 roster to the 3-yard line of close to a win on Thanksgiving night against the number one offense in football at the time, because the Cowboys, that's what they're known as. And the fact we ain't lost, that's not that. It wasn't him because we lost, but he played the best game of the year, and unanimous and everything. So, who's your offensive player of the game?
Offensive player of the game. I mean, the crazy thing is, up to a point, it would have been Josh Simmons, and of course, unfortunately, he ended up getting hurt.
Yeah.
I've got 2 shout outs that I want to give. One would certainly, obviously, and again, you went Patrick Mahomes, so I'm not going to choose Patrick Mahomes, but one would be Rashee Rice. I did not like some of the details, I'll say, about the route running at some points in the game, and I felt like he could have been a little bit more consistent as far as early in the game. But ultimately, he made some really key catches, was able to make some plays. Obviously, in the first touchdown, he made a great play as well. And Travis Kelce and Jared Wiley had good blocks on that touchdown as well. But shout out to Rashee Rice. And then, secondarily, I also want to give a shout out to Hollywood Brown, because that catch in the back of the end zone was not easy by any means. And I thought that he made a very good catch for that touchdown there. And obviously, it's been a conversation early or consistently throughout this year about, hey, Hollywood Brown's usage, Tyquan Thornton, et cetera, et cetera. I just want to say, when we've called on Hollywood Brown, he's shown up a lot. So I tip of the cap to Hollywood Brown, and certainly Rashee Rice had a nice homecoming, in addition to obviously Patrick Mahomes' performance.
Absolutely, man. I mean, Rashee, this is what I heard too. And shout out to Nate Taylor, who's over there at KC Sports Network and also writing for ESPN. He said it too, giving us details of what he saw in the locker room. When they told him, the stat team told Rashee about his stats, like, you scored 2 touchdowns, you have probably one of your best games of the season. Basically, Rashee kind of said, I don't give a fuck about that. We lost a big game right there. And when I hear that, I said, now that's the type of player that I want right there. Somebody who says, fuck those stats, man. Like, I care about that. What I'm doing is the ability. That speaks about my ability and what I can do. And he thought that the efforts was going to be enough to help the team win. Because I remember Terrell Suggs, shout out to Chiefs legend Terrell Suggs, Ravens legend. He said it years ago when, they were in that playoffs with when he was with the Ravens, 2011. And, him and Skip Bayless kept on going at it, when he appeared on First Take with, Stephen A. Smith and them. T-Sizzle told Skip Bayless every time he came on saying, well, T-Sizzle, you didn't get that many sacks or nothing like that. And, T.J. Yates put on a great performance. And he was like, okay, so what? And guess what? Stats doesn't matter, Skip. What matters is that if you execute the play and get the play done and you do your part and it contributes to your team winning, that's what matters. And that was the way that Rashee is trying to come on, and it's like, those stats don't matter. As long as we win, that's what matters to me, and that's what we want. I want every single body else to be on there, man. But I heard it was a very emotional locker room afterwards, probably like the Tennessee game in 2019 that we lost at their place. Because I heard that even Damian Williams, after that game, he just stared at the locker room a long time, still in his uniform, like he didn't want to leave. And I know what that feeling is like, especially winning a must-win game. Well, we got to have that mindset going into this one. So,
yeah, I mean, it's to the point, and you heard it a little bit from some of the people that we were hearing. sorry, you heard it from some of the Chiefs players, I should say, that came to the podium throughout this week, in my opinion, of how much they feel like this is, in fact, a must-win game. I hope they play with that type of desperation, particularly on defense. I would like to see it because they should be approaching it from that manner. But I would also say it also has to come from the coaching staff. The coaching staff, particularly on offense, has to coach this game like it is desperate from an aggressive standpoint as far as Andy Reid is concerned, but also understanding whatever playoff type of setting, playbook that you always like to say, this is the time to pull it out. You don't have a choice. I didn't see enough of that, in my opinion, versus the Broncos. I didn't see enough of that post the second drive of the game versus the Cowboys, in which you were able to run the ball under center versus the Cowboys and then went away from it for basically the next 4 drives. You got to pull these things out now because you don't have the opportunity moving forward. Save all that tonsil tickling for somebody else. I don't really care that much. Go out there and have a playoff game plan because that's what it's going to require to win this game and keep your season alive.
Absolutely, man. You hit it right on the coffin, man. And I might want to say this down the road too. If Joel Blameyer is still the guy who's game planning, the same guy who says, I was scared to come up with this game plan, why the fuck are you still here? Excuse me. I'm like, if you're afraid to work with the best player on the planet, get the fuck out of here. Imagine if it was Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan would be getting in your face like, get the fuck out of here, man. I'll come up with this game plan myself, and I'm not even a player. I'm not even a staff guy. I know as a player how we going to win this mug. Come on, man. Like, y'all got to get it together. With that tickle of time, come on, man. Belichick would be acting like General Palpatine. Fuck this shit. Get this together. You already know how it go. So anyway, my defensive player of the game, of course I would have gone with McDuffie or Watson, but they gave us some big yardage. The reason why I would have gone with McDuffie, and I'm gonna talk about this guy afterwards too, because not only did he screw McDuffie, he also screwed my defensive player of the game, but it was back against Jacksonville. And Nick Bolton, the entire defense got barbecued, 0 sacks, 9 third-down conversions allowed, corners getting flagged like they're playing on ice skates, Spags down up 0 pressure when we needed it the most. Where the hell's your NASCAR package, Spags? Where's that Giants NASCAR package that you brought us? Where's that mentality from that 2016 Giants team who had arguably the best defense when you had Jack Rabbit? Where's that mentality? Where's that mentality when you had Brashard and Mooney and T. Sizzle and Big Frank Clark, the Shark? Where's that mentality at, Spags? But there was one grown man in the middle of all that mess who stood his own, and I thought it was Nick Bolton. 11 tackles, the highest on the field by anybody on defense, whether you was the Cowboys or the Chiefs. 11 tackles, 6 solo, 2 tackles for losses. He allowed an 83.2 passer rating in his coverage, basically allowing 5 out of 7 catches for like 40 yards, but he still held his own and almost had an interception. While Trent was grabbing jerseys, Drew Tranquil, now this is the guy I need to call out because I'm so sick of him, was missing gaps. Carl Loftus was getting washed. The secondary was playing 10 yards off on 3rd and 8. Bolton was flying sideline to sideline trying to clean up everybody's fuck-ups. And he's the only reason the score wasn't 45-28. So, yeah, the defense was straight trash, but 32 was the lone wolf in a dark room. And, that's my defensive player of the game by default and by dominance, but Drew Tranquil. First, when Nick Bolton had an opportunity to grab the interception against Jacksonville, what does he do? Like that Fairly Odd Parents with that basketball team. My ball, my ball, my ball. Like, no, fool. Get out of the way. Let me get the interception. Now, there was a chance him or Shamari Connor could have got that interception, but this whole bumping into each other, trying to get the interception like a bumbling teen off of a Disney movie, man, come on, man. We got to stop that them antics. But Drew Tranquil, not only did you F that up, but you're terrible in coverage this year. And that's one of the reasons why he was brought in. It was like, oh, not only can he rush the passer, but he could cover the ball too, coming like what he showed with the Chargers. McDuffie punched the ball out. McDuffie has the most forced fumbles by any defensive back, whether you're a corner or a safety, since he got drafted in 2022. He punched the ball out. He punched it. Marcus Peters style. Punch out. The ball was right there by Drew Tranquil. I know you know what I'm talking about, D-Mac. That one play, he punched the ball out. Drew Tranquil was right there. Where's the ball at? The Cowboy defender, it was almost like he was trying to like, hey, dude, it's right here. Oh, fuck it. I'll just fall on it. Boom. I was like, mother. Yeah, you remember when I got in the group chat, I said, cut his ass. I can't stand this motherfucker. Like, what is going on there, man? That's the second time right there. And then also Spags, you putting Shamari Conner out there. Do you not realize your safety is the worst safety in all of football? You got the new Dirty Dan out there, man. I'm getting flashbacks of watching Dirty Dan when I see Shamari Conner out there. And you already got an in-house starting safety in Jayton Hicks. That's who I call our Cam Chancellor. You kind of got an equivalent of Earl Thomas and Brian Cook. Why aren't you using them? I don't know how to explain it, man, but who's your defensive player of the game, and what's your thoughts about what I'm talking about? Because I know you've talked about it before, too.
Yeah, I mean, it was such a tough game. I'll be honest with you. I don't really have a defensive play. I don't think anybody really covered themselves in glory. I mean, to be perfectly honest. Like fine. Nick Bolton was largely solid in this game, and I think that you had it right. He was flying around there. And I think he was in the right gaps most of the time as well. So, I don't know. Chris Jones was good. He still had some ways in which he was kind of putting himself outside the gaps, but I understand why he's doing it because he feels like he has to make a play if he wants to do anything as far as that is concerned and make an impact. So I get why he did that. But, man, it's just tough. It's tough for that defense to have the issues that they did and try and find a defensive player of the game. But I think that, again, we talked about this, the blitzes, and this is something that I was talking about specifically coming after the Colts game. It was like, guys, it's all nice that they were able to get off the field against Daniel Jones. Dak Prescott is not going to be fooled by any of these blitzes. He's going to see them coming from a mile away, and he's going to attack you with CeeDee Lamb, Jake Ferguson, and George Pickens. And that's exactly what they were able to do. He knew what blitzes were coming. He knew where he needed to get the ball to, and he knew exactly where the holes were on the back end of it. And it's annoying for the fact that I've seen that coming, and then obviously the fact that they didn't stay aggressive enough. And yeah, you could have given up the plays, but you gave up the plays anyway. So force the issue, blitz a little bit more, be more physical at the line of scrimmage, put Noah Williams out there because that's what he likes to do as well. And it's frustrating to watch what they ended up doing on the defensive side of the ball because I think they're just sitting back and allowing things to happen to them instead of trying to force the issue as well. But Dak Prescott's performance wasn't particularly surprising, and the defensive struggles weren't either. I would say that I didn't expect it to be that lopsided as far as the Trent McDuffie and Jalen Watson versus Pickens and CeeDee Lamb matchup. Watson at some point has to play with inside leverage and take away the slant on that third down. I don't know what was going on there as far as that was concerned. And Shamari Conner, he's a backup player. He's just not an NFL starter, and you can't continue to have him in that role because it's going to continue to kill you. He had the major play on the goal line. Dak Prescott scrambles. Nick Bolton and Chris Jones are right there to be able to stop him. Shamari Conner comes out of his hole and ends up, allowing Javonte Williams to be wide open for that touchdown. Can't allow that to happen at all. He completely vacated the zone for no reason. And then they send him on a blitz on a key 1st and 10. If you get that tackle for loss that puts him at a second and long, then you're in a position where you can actually get off the field with 3+ minutes to go, give Patrick Mahomes the ball back, and have a chance for a comeback. He completely whiffs on the tackle on the run blitz. Can't have that. Javonte Williams goes for 9 yards and everything is available to him. So a frustrating game from a lot of the defenders, certainly from Shamari Conner. No help from George Karlaftis versus a backup tackle who we just saw on Thursday Night Football got victimized by the Lions again and again and again. And it's frustrating. It's so frustrating with this defense right now. But I'm to the point where I'm like, I can't trust them to do much of anything.
Yeah. The fact that Noah Williams only got 6 snaps last week, and that's your best pure outside corner. I even talked about Noah Williams when I was at Chiefs Focus with War Room. Mm-hmm. Noah is like that. Trayvon Diggs, Stephon Gilmore, physical, long arm cornerback, pick artist. Oh, I don't like to play rookie. Oh, get the fuck out of here, man. Like, basically, you're not serious about winning in. Or I don't know if it's his ego thing, like, oh, because, I'm a 4-time Super Bowl championship winning defensive coordinator. Okay, well, that's what you're a defensive coordinator. Like, that's the closest thing to the head coach. But your job is being the leader of the defense and being more aggressive. And when you make these bonehead decisions like that, especially put Shamari Conner, as a matter of fact, it makes me wonder, who would I blame the pick for Shamari Conner on? Brett Veach or Spags? Because there was no way that they said, out of all those other players when we were there at the draft, because I was there at the draft when I was there. That was like one of my last events with the Chiefs. And when they called Shamari Conner's name out, I was like, why? Why? Just like, no offense to Felix and DK Uzama, same thing with him when there was Sam Laporta and Brian Branch still on the board, even Joey Porter Jr. I'm like, there's these players right here that we could use, and look what they're doing right now. But, I understand Brett Veach, just like in 2022. You draft McDuffie. You get Watson in the 7th round. I truly believe that Brett Veach, he could have gotten Tariq Woolen if he wanted to. He could have gotten George Pickens over Sky Moore, but there's a reason why he didn't do that. Mm-hmm. Too much money gonna go around. There's Woolen. I already got my starting corner unit in that draft class. If I didn't go after Joshua Williams in favor of Tariq Woolen, but you had to either pay McDuffie or Woolen. Just like, let's say you would have George Pickens, you would have Rashee Rice, and then you would have Worthy. You can't keep all three of those guys forever, but I understand that. But sometimes you just got to take risk on these players, just like, and I think you mentioned it before in a group chat about the way that the pass rush needs to be built. I have to admit, it's not looking good, and especially like looking the way Denver is almost like the benchmark of how you need your pass rush to be like. And this team that we're going to be facing, that's how your pass rush needs to be flying, because of the way their pass rush is. Houston is the number one defense in the NFL, and they're coming for our heads. So we can't be playing around. And if I'm Spags and I understand it's like I have my style of doing things, but sometimes I know every team looks at every other defense and trying to get the idea of how they can apply, let's say, the aggression that the Texans bring. I know Spags is looking and saying, you know what, we need to be more aggressive like that. I know he just be thinking that, but it's just something we got to do. And it's like what you mentioned, man. So, and we're not yelling, fire Andy Reid, fire Spags, because that's crazy. But we got to fix it, and we got to do it fast, because the best quarterback on earth can't keep dragging the whole operation by himself, man.
I'm glad you did say that, because I think it is important to say this. This has been a very negative podcast at this point, as far as we're frustrated with the team. And we'll have plenty of chances to talk about what we feel like needs to be changed. But we're not advocating for Steve Spagnuolo to be fired. We're not advocating for Andy Reid to be fired. These guys have such a track record of understanding football at such a high level that they deserve to be trusted to fix what the problems are. And the thing about it is, they need to look in the mirror and realize that they are part of the problem. And if they do that, I trust that they will do the right things that need to change, whether it's personnel-wise, roster-wise, scheme-wise, etc., culture-wise, in a lot of respects too. Mm-hmm. They need to do those things. And I trust them to do those things because of the track record that they've shown here in Kansas City. And I trust them to do those things, especially in Andy Reid's case, because I've seen him do it. I've seen him build out an offense from under center run game when he had Jamal Charles, when he had Alex Smith. I've seen him do it before. I've seen him do it and change it on the fly when needed, when it called for, when a guy like Matt Moore had to come in, or a guy like Chad Henne had to come in. He's done it before. He's got to be able to do those things now and make those adjustments. Steve Spagnuolo will benefit, obviously, from better personnel, specifically on the defensive line, but he's got to change the way that he evaluates defensive line. For the time that he spent, with the Rams, he ended up saying that he had taken time off before he went to be the coordinator for the Chiefs, or came here to be the coordinator for the Chiefs. He said he needed to take a step back, understand what's needed for modern defenses, and then make those adjustments. And those adjustments have served him extremely well to this point. It's time for him to take another step back. I'm not saying he has to take a year off to do so. Take another step back, reevaluate what he's looking for as far as the talent along the defensive line so that he can be better from that perspective. And but we trust these guys to do it, but they need to be called out on because they're part of the problem right now, not the solution.
Yes, and we saying that with love, guys, because you guys are better than this, man. We can do better.
They raised the expectations for this team. They did it. It's because of the culture Andy Reid brought. It's because of the change from Steve Spagnuolo to Bob, or from Bob Sutton to Steve Spagnuolo. They raised that standard. Now it's time for them to adjust and adapt so that they can keep maintaining that standard.
Yeah, and I know you ain't got nothing nice to say about Uncle Dave, but
yeah, no, I will say I am advocating for Dave Tope to lose his job. I don't see what's the point in him staying here. That I will say I am advocating for that. And he's made a lot of money in his career. He can, if he retires, then he retires. Shout out to Dave Tope, but that they need a change on special teams. I'm sick of it. Yeah, I will say.
Yeah, I'm there with you. So, all right, Kingdom, final segment of the night, and this one's do or die. It's do or die. Sunday Night Football, 7:20 Central, our time. NBC lights blaring down on Arrowhead, 6-6 Kansas City versus a 7-5 Houston Texas team that's won 4 straight. One game out of the AFC South lead, and they're trying to become just the 5th squad since 1990 to start 0-3 and still punch a ticket to the postseason. Their defense straight up nasty. Number 1 in points allowed, 16.5 a game. Number 1 in yards allowed, 65.7. 10 games this year, holding teams to 20 or under. Meanwhile, we're coming off that Dallas disaster and where we scored 10 points and looked like we forgot how to play football. So here's the cold truth. Lose this one, the season's on life support with a DNR order. Win it, we're right back in the dance. 3 keys, the 3 keys to get it done Sunday night. Write these down, tape them to the fridge, tattoo them on your forearm, whatever it takes. And I know D-Mac has his keys to victory as well. So key number 1, keep Will Anderson Jr. and Danielle Hunter in a bad dream, not in Mahomes' lap. These 2 bookend edge rushers are the best duo in football right now. Hunter's playing like he's still mad Minnesota traded him, and Will Anderson looks like the second coming of J.J. Watt with a mean streak. Together, they're wrecking souls. The problem, we ain't got Josh Simmons at left tackle. Jawan Taylor still dinged up on the right side. That means Jalen Moore and Wanye Morris, 2 backup tackles, got to block the 2 best edge rushers they'll see all year. Good luck, fellas. Andy and Matt Nagy has got to help them. Chips, slides, max protection, quick game, get the ball out quick, screens, whatever it takes. Give Pat a clean pocket or at least a 3 Mississippi count, because if those 2 are living in the backfield, it don't matter if Mahomes is trying to join Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, and Breeze in 8 straight 25 touchdown club. He'll be joining the concussion protocol instead if they do not get the job done. So it's important that they got to get that taken care of. Key number 2, Nick Bolton and Mr. Tranquil. You got to grow eyes in the backfield of your helmets for somebody like Dalton Schultz. Not only for the secondary dealing with Nico Collins, because we might have Nico Collins covered, but you already know what they're going to do in strategies every time we go when teams come against us, especially in primetime games. I know they're going to go to their tight end ones. Y'all been sleeping on Dalton Schultz, and Spags can't afford that luxury on Sunday. He has 59 catches. He leads the team with 59 catches, 552 yards receiving, and a score. Only 1 touchdown, but quietly one of the 5 most reliable tight ends in the league with C.J. Stroud is healthy. And guess what? He's back. We all know our linebacking coverage has been a 5-alarm dumpster fire this year. Bolton's been very good for the most part. Tranquil's aggressive in the wrong zip code half the time. Schultz runs those option routes and delayed seams that make linebackers look drunk. If Spags plays that soft zone shell again and lets Schultz sit down in the middle of the field all night, Stroud is going to pick us apart for 8 to 10 yard chunks and will never get up the field. Bracket him, jam him at the line of scrimmage, put a safety over the top, do something creative, coach. This ain't Trey McBride or Tyler Warren or some nobody. This is a legit problem. And last but not least, key number 3. Run the damn ball with Kareem Hunt and on occasion Pacheco. Control the clock and don't give that ball hawking secondary free shots. Derek Stingley Jr. is playing at an all-pro level right now. A 56 passer rating allowed, 45% completion rate when he's targeted. That dude's a ghost, or he'll make you be seeing ghosts, especially if you're Jets Sam Darnold. You'll throw at him, the ball disappears. The rest of that secondary ain't shy about jumping routes either, bro. You know, this the same secondary that led in turnovers since last season. I mean, so what's the antidote? You know, Kareem freaking Hunt, that's one. Pound the rock, bleed the clock, keep that Texans pass rush honest, and most importantly, keep the ball out of Mahomes' hands when he's seeing ghosts and trying to force it to Worthy or let's say Rashee Rice in triple coverage. We got to win the time of possession. We got to get back to 30-plus carries like we did just like against the Colts. If we go 3 and out, turnover, 3 and out again like we did against Dallas, season's over by 10:30 Central Standard Time Sunday night. But if we feed Hunt, Pacheco in the mix, use play action to freeze those linebackers and let Mahomes operate off rhythm instead of playing hero ball, we could put up about 28 plus at home like we've done in the last 5 games before at Arrowhead, you know, especially when we played against the Commanders and the Raiders and the Ravens. Do that, and Pat gets 3 touchdowns to join the 25 touchdown and 8 straight season club with those legends like Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Drew Brees. Kelsey gets his 81 yards. That's what he needs to become the only non-wide receiver ever with 12 straight seasons of 800-plus yard seasons with Jerry Rice. And most importantly, we wake up Monday morning still breathing. So, you got any keys to the game? And what's your thoughts about my keys right there?
I'm sorry, my bad. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
I'm about to say, yeah.
I was like, wait, I couldn't hear myself. No, I liked all your keys. I like the way that you kind of laid it out. I'll be coming out with my keys obviously on Sunday morning as well before the games and stuff. I think the reality of the situation is this team, and I'll talk about some of the schematic stuff on Sunday, but this team just got to come out with the desperation. The Texans are going to come in feeling like this game they need to continue their playoff push as well. This game has to be, and the Cowboys, in my opinion, on Thanksgiving came out with an idea that they had to get this game, that they could stay alive in the playoff push. This game has to mean the world to the Chiefs as far as that's concerned. They have to come out desperate and wanting to win this at all costs, in my opinion. If they do that, then I think they have a good shot. If they don't, then I think the Texans are going to kick their butts. I truly do feel that way. That's my main key before we get into some of the matchup stuff on Sunday.
Yeah. Well, bottom line, Chiefs Kingdom, protect Mahomes, cover Schultz, run the ball like grown men. Do those 3 things, and we beat the best defense we've seen all year. Fail at 2 of them, start making tee times for January and start planning ahead and start getting your draft guys ready. Win out starts Sunday night. Let's freaking go. So, all right. Kingdom, that's a wrap on tonight's files. Want to thank my guy D-Mac for coming on. We just broke down the 3 keys to survive Sunday night, keep the season alive, and send Houston back to the Lone Star State with their tails between their legs. But before we get out of here and start, stress eating ribs until kickoff, Got to pay the light bill around this basement here. Well, actually, my apartment. This episode is brought to you by the official sponsor for Kingdom Cast and McGruder Files, Underdog Fantasy. Best ball pick'ems, ladders, whatever favorite you like to do. You got it. They got it. And right now, they're hooking up the Kingdom up really good. Go download Underdog Fantasy on the Apple Store or Google Play. Sign up with promo code KingdomCast, as you can see at the bottom. That's KINGDOMKAST, all in bold letters, all together, all one word. And when you deposit just $5, they'll match it with up to $100 in bonus bets. That's free money to throw on the Chiefs to keep the dream alive. So, for example, I kind of have a little look that I'm looking at this Sunday. I think I'm going to ladder Mahomes' touchdown passes because he needs those 3 touchdown passes to match that legacy and that career with Tom Brady, Breeze, and Peyton Manning. So you could do like plus 2 touchdowns, maybe ladder it up to 3 touchdowns. Shoot. Sprinkle a little anytime touchdown pass or his rushing yards, because you already know, because when Hunter and Anderson are going to be chasing him, we might see Mahomes turn into Lamar Jackson. You could, ladder Kelsey's receiving yards, 60 plus, 80. You can also scoop up Kelsey anytime touchdown. You got a prop that you going with this Sunday, D-Mac?
We're gonna have a Tell the Truth trifecta coming out on Sunday, so I'm still looking at the lines as far as what I want to roll with, but it'll probably end up being something Travis Kelce related because I like his matchup.
Yeah, same here, man. Like they say, he just needs 81 yards Sunday night, and he joins Jerry Rice as one of the only 2 players with 12 straight 800-yard seasons. And Kelce in December under the lights, that's free money walking right there. So, again, download Underdog Fantasy, use the code KingdomCast, turn $5 into 100 in bonus bets, and let's cash together with the Chiefs punching Houston in the mouth. And well, that's it from the night. D-Mac, man, thank you for coming on. Tell everybody what you got going on and where they can find you, man.
Yeah, happy to join you guys, or I should say join you, P-Mac. Thank you for having me on. Obviously, always happy to come on the files, dog. I would say, obviously, we have Tell the Truth on Tuesday. We'll probably maybe do a post game probably on Monday. And obviously, I've got the trifecta to be on the lookout, obviously, on the Kingdom Cast account. We'll have the trifecta posting, obviously, on Instagram, TikTok, and then Twitter as well. And then I'll have my 3 keys coming out on TikTok and Instagram as well, and then obviously on YouTube. So be on the lookout for those as well on Sunday morning. So make sure you guys look out for that. And obviously, I have my own stuff at DMW Sports, calling college football, NBA, NFL, obviously a little baseball. Little F1, I got a video coming out on that coming out this weekend too. We got the season finale there, so a lot of stuff going on in DFW Sports for anybody that wants to check it out, a little bit more of the other sports and obviously the rest of the NFL covered.
All right, sounds good. And that's it from the files tonight, fam. Winning out starts on Sunday. Protect the rock, protect the house, protect the pick'ems. You know what it is, everybody. Chiefs Kingdom, let's get this W. It's not how you start, it's how you finish. Let's finish on a strong note, and let's hope for a prayer that the other teams lose. And, let's see what happens. So that's it from P-Mac's apartment. That man is D-Mac right here. I'm P-Mac, and you guys are watching the McGruder Files. Until next time, deuces, Chiefs Kingdom.